How does someone following the Wise Woman Way deal with disease such as high blood pressure, a fever, or cancer? In the Wise Woman Way, these words describe things that do not exist. Disease has no existence on its own. Any disease is bound inextricably to the being and setting which expresses and embodies it. In the Wise Woman tradition, disease, pain, and problems exist only within the framework of a particular person and particular society, not independently. Diseases are certainly recognized, and diagnostic skills are honored within the Wise Woman both and holographic spiraling way. But the focus is on the person as an individual, not on the disease as an entity. The Wise Woman tradition maintains that the name of the disease is not the disease, and that the name of the disease cannot be treated, cannot be healed/holed. High blood pressure is a static, unchanging phrase, and as such can only be eliminated or reduced, not healed. From the Wise Woman perspective, the disease itself is a gift of wholeness to be cherished and nourished, not hastily cured. Disease does not exist apart from the being manifesting it. Even a typhoid bacterium, a poliovirus, is not typhoid or polio without a being to manifest it. And because each being is unique, so each expression of typhoid or polio is unique and must be treated uniquely in the Wise Woman tradition. In this way, the being expressing the disease is nourished and becomes healthy, whole, holy in the Wise Woman tradition, whether or not the disease is proclaimed cured. The Wise Woman sees our disease, our problem, as an ally of wholeness. Our wholeness comes from disease as well as health in the Wise Woman Way. The Wise Woman tradition accepts chaos. The Wise Woman tradition knows that health, wholeness, holiness is of the void and ever-changing, so the Wise Woman doesn't ask why. The Wise Woman tradition has no goal but wholeness and inclusion. The Wise Woman tradition accepts uniqueness. The Wise Woman tradition gives up control. So the Wise Woman doesn't ask why. Why am I sick? Why did this happen to me? Why do I feel this way? Why do I have these dreadful menstrual cramps? The Wise Woman knows that the answer to why is always because. Because I ate the wrong thing, because the world is a rotten place, because they were awful to me, because all the women in my family do. And that because leads to guilt and blame, and to the setting up of boundaries to maintain control and ensure that the pain or problem never happens again. So I'll never ever even think about that hot, salty, crisp French fry. So I'll never ever even think about hot, salty, crisp French fries again. And now that I'm on my own and everybody else is out for number 1, 2, and that's the way it is, don't trust anybody. I'll never feel so much about anyone again. I wish I didn't have a uterus. I wish I weren't a woman. The Wise Woman Way defines health as flexible, encompassing, and vital. How can these attributes be nourished with limits and guilt? How can wholeness be nurtured with blame and boundaries? How can holiness be recognized through fear and separation? They cannot. So the Wise Woman doesn't ask why. The Wise Woman asks how. How is this problem my ally? Menstrual cramps are not my ally. How does this condition benefit me? I get no benefit at all from being in pain and sick to my stomach, and I resent your implications that I do it to get attention or something. And the Wise Woman asks, what? What does this pain or problem prevent me from doing? When I'm cramping, I can't cook dinner, I can't drive the kids around, I can't even read. What nourishment am I given by my pain or problem? All I can do is curl up in bed or in the bathtub and close my eyes and kind of dream. What part of myself is revealed there? I feel like a bad mother and a worthless person if I just lie around and don't do anything. What nourishment does it need? I guess I could accept myself. Yeah, maybe it is good for me to have one day every month for myself, just for myself, just for me. And again, the wise woman asks, how? How can I open to receive the gift of this situation? You mean, how can I encourage the cramps? No. Oh, how can I have that day to myself? How can I accept a day for myself and not have to be in pain? How shall I nourish wholeness? I guess being a bad mother one day a month isn't so terrible, and I found the perfect green ally, and I think it will be good for the kids to be more on their own. What strengthens me, my community, and Mother Earth in this situation? Women used to believe that their menstrual time was special and holy. I'll have to think that over. Bleeding on the earth nourishes all life. Well, that's kind of a big responsibility, don't you think? Besides, what if someone saw me? Are you suggesting that my menstrual cramps are the earth's way of getting me to love and nourish her? That's weird. Kind of the ultimate recycling. Save a tree and all that, huh? Don't support the multi-billion-dollar feminine hygiene industry, and it fertilizes plants. No wonder some women have a green thumb. Say these cramps could not be so bad after all. In the scientific tradition, curing consists of getting rid of the problem as quickly as possible. In the heroic tradition, curing consists of allocating guilt, asking for forgiveness, accepting punishment, and learning the rules so it never happens again. In the wise woman tradition, there are no cures. Problems are not cured. They are not enemies to be eliminated. In the wise woman tradition, we do not love our enemies. We make them our allies. In the wise woman tradition, we eliminate Sorry, I lost my spot. In the wise woman tradition, we eliminate our enemies. I just feel like this doesn't make sense. Anyway. We eliminate them by accepting all their gifts, by feasting on the nourishment they offer. In the wise woman tradition, we gain cooperation from our enemies by respecting their unique reality. They become our supporters. In the wise woman tradition, we honor and cherish our enemies as benefactors of our health, wholeness, holiness. For our enemies force us, as few others will, to be strong and wise. Problems are not the result of wrongdoing. In the wise woman tradition, problems are not the result of wrongdoing in the wise woman tradition. Problems are allies, powerful presences who come to help us to wholeness. Sometimes these allies leave when we incorporate them into our compassionate heart. Sometimes, recognizing them as needed helpers, we consent to their continued presence. Sometimes substances, such as insulin or antibiotics, or techniques such as surgery, strongly associated with the scientific tradition, are used by the wise woman. She understands these substances and techniques are nourishments, not cures. It is not the thing done that indicates the tradition, but the thought behind the action. Getting cured is not the goal in the wise woman tradition. Instead, we are healed, whole, made holy, and nourished in our uniqueness. Outwitting death as long as possible is not the goal in the wise woman tradition. Balanced in the heart with the inexhaustible goddess who churns the water of birthing and dying, we lose our anxiety to cure and be cured. Nourishing our wholeness, compassionately embracing our multiple and contradictory self-images, unconditionally loving our own neediness, we gradually come to know that the wise woman way to health, wholeness, holiness is not by curing our problems, avoiding pain, and living as long as humanly possible, but by accepting problems, pain, disease, and death as allies, and by accepting the gifts of our allies. We mistakenly see our diseases and injuries as other than ourselves. We say our arthritis is bad, not ourselves. My stomach, arm, head hurts, not me. We fail to see that we have already embodied our problems. Struggling to be rid of the pain and impairment, we paradoxically struggle against our own wholeness, our own variety and variability, our own perfection in the moment as a holographic expression of the whole. Allowing ourselves to find the ally in our problem and accepting the ally's gifts, we validate our own health, wholeness, holiness, and nourish ourselves in compassionate transformation. We turn heart-centered in the moving spiral of wholeness. We come to see suffering as resistance and denial. So more and more we open to ourselves, we accept ourselves, and we are filled with joy. What a way to be not cured. The only rule in the Wise Woman tradition is that there are no rules. Allowing the unjudging flow of compassion in the Wise Woman way, we are challenged to remember that the perfect wholeness of each moment is ever changing. There can be no rules. Loving ourselves unconditionally with Wise Woman roughness and compassion, we are challenged to acknowledge the unique perfection of each pain. There can be no rules. Looking at the both and hologram with Wise Woman vision, we are challenged to increase the clarity and brilliance of the whole by nourishing the web in each of its unique parts. There can be no rules. In a both and universe, there can be no rules. Anytime you think this is exactly the same as before, you're wrong, says the Wise Woman tradition. Rules make comfortable, secure boxes to hide behind when normalcy stretches its limits and the unexpected occurs. Rules are safe. Rules are not elastic. Rules are visible. Rules are accountable. Rules are regular. Rules are logical. All rules are made to be broken, says the Wise Woman. We are all healers in the Wise Woman tradition. Self-healing and self-loving, we co-create healing with our allies. Our allies and our problems, they bring us gifts of wholeness. Our allies are wise women. They support us in our transformation. Our allies are green allies, wild plants. They supply us with optimum nourishment. The Wise Woman tradition asks us to ally ourselves with our pains and problems, receive their gifts, honor them, and listen to them, and to nourish compassionately all aspects of ourselves. The Wise Woman tradition sees everyone as a potential wise woman, as a wise woman in disguise. Seeking support, we ally ourselves with a woman of wisdom. We listen for resonance. We seek ones who can magnify our tone for us, guide us, support us in the vulnerability and chaos of our expansion. We seek the wise woman who encourages not to return to balance or normalcy, but transformation and refinement. We seek the ones who nourish us through the incorporation, not the remission of the problem. We go to visit the healer. There is ritual of respect. The healer is welcomed as a visitor to our homeland. We lodge at the healer's home, are treated as honored guests. Wholeness is accepted, says the Wise Woman tradition, not created. We are precious gifts to each other, for together we are part of the whole universe. Let us love ourselves gloriously and heal each other. Let us see health, wholeness, holiness in ourselves and each other. Let us fall in love again and again. Let our hearts beat and our breath flow at one with the universal pulse. Grief, joy, grief, joy, grief, joy. Having no goals, resonant with truth, beauty, joy, and wholeness, the wise woman does nothing. She is still, sensitive, alert. Like a dolphin, she sends out sonar waves to test the frequencies of wholeness. She opens herself to the hologram of this unique being at this time, in this place. Having no rules to teach, no morals to preach, the wise woman is silent. She is full in her silence. She is empty in her silence. Her expression is quite clear. She's in love. Her strength is quite visible. She does not reach out. The best helping hand is often the one that touches not. Energy is visible around the wise woman, sparks and flashes caught in the corner of the eye. Look deeply into her eyes. Feel the energy coil and shift. There is alignment. There is alliance, attunement, acceptance, agreement. Barriers are lifted, wholeness is revealed. Blessing the wise woman, blessing ourselves, we part. Savoring the taste of truth-telling, knowing that we empower ourselves, accepting the gifts of the wise woman, we continue our self-healing journey. There are no rules in the wise woman way. There are no cures in the wise woman way. There are no healers in the wise woman way. There are the questions of transformation. What is the health, wholeness, holiness here? How is it nourished? Nourishment is the keynote of the wise woman tradition. Nourishment comes from women. Breast milk is the archetype of nourishment. Now I eat you. Nourishment comes from the Earth Mother. She gives us abundant nourishment of sweet grains, green allies, and animal giveaways. Now you eat me. Health, wholeness, holiness is remembered through optimum nourishment in the wise woman tradition. Nourishment is a constant need of beingness. Alive or dead, we need nourishment. Optimum nourishment, claims the wise woman tradition, is whole, holy, vital, wild, unique, local, common, simple, messy, fresh, abundant, accessible, seasonal, varied, and full of love. In the wise woman tradition, optimum nourishment encourages and supports wholeness, holiness, vitality, flexibility, individuality, intimacy, self-love, and self-acceptance, integration, originality, sensitivity, responsibility, creativity, centeredness, and compassion, as well as providing physical, emotional, and spiritual sustenance. Healing and change are best carried out by providing nourishment, counsels the wise woman tradition. The wise woman looks at everything from the viewpoint of nourishment. How can optimum nourishment be made accessible or more desirable in this unique instance? What nourishment feeds the larger hologram, the family, community, and planet, as well as the individual? Who is starving? How can the one who hungers find nourishment? Who is giving away? Now you eat me. Who is receiving nourishment? Now I eat you. Optimum nourishment, says the wise woman tradition, is needed to sustain personal, cultural, and planetary growth. Optimum nourishment, says the wise woman tradition, is needed to support the spiraling of transformation, individuality, and doesn't make sense to me because I read it wrong. Optimum nourishment, says the wise woman tradition, is needed to support the spiraling of transformation individually and universally. Optimum nourishment is needed, says the wise woman tradition, to give the courage and strength to accept our own unique health, wholeness, holiness. Optimum nourishment, how do we get it? Appreciate your uniqueness to begin with, says the wise woman tradition. Ally yourself with your problem instead of fighting it. Make yourself available to receive the gifts of your allies, the hidden parts of yourself brought to the surface by your problem allies, the delicious foods prepared from your green allies, the wisdom of your inner and outer wise woman allies. Accept these gifts of abundance from your mother. Open yourself to nourishment in the wise woman way. Open yourself even to nourishment which comes in disorderly, mysterious ways. Give up blaming yourself for your own problems. Give up blaming yourself for everyone else's problems. Give up punishing yourself. Realize that denying any part of yourself optimum nourishment denies the whole of you and the whole of the universe as well from the wise woman perspective. Love every part of yourself enough to offer it nourishment. Health, wholeness, holiness are the natural consequences of giving optimum nourishment to every aspect of one's being according to the wise woman tradition. Remember that the state of your health, wholeness, holiness reflects not only the nourishment available, but what you choose to consume, to integrate into yourself. Remember that nourishment in the wise woman tradition comes in many forms and with many energies, and that health, wholeness, holiness can receive nourishment from every form and every energy. The wise woman knows the more forms and energies of nourishment you accept, the greater your access to optimum nourishment. There are no food rules in the wise woman tradition. There can be no food rules in the wise woman tradition. I am sitting on an airplane, face to the window, crying. I have just had a fight with the stewardess about my carry-on bag and lost. The older woman sitting next to me reaches into her capacious purse, nearly as big as the bag they wouldn't let me take on, and finds a wrapped bundle. It is a pastrami sandwich. I'm a vegetarian. Smiling tenderly, she catches my eye as I turn to see what she's doing, and she offers me half of her sandwich. With my local vision, I see meat. I ready myself to say no. Then I look with wise woman eyes. She is the goddess, this woman. She is wholeness, holiness, the wise woman. She offers me nourishment, mother love, acceptance in my misery. I feel the openness in my heart. I offer myself compassion and smile back at her. I open myself to the sacrament she offers. I accept the nourishment she offers me. I accept the healing gift of pastrami on rye. Locked into a rule, I don't eat meat. How can I be ready to receive the abundance of the universe, the mother's nourishment in its multifaceted forms? Rules maintain the wise woman tradition, especially about food, generally restrict our access to love and optimum nourishment. Following the wise woman way, we find nourishment even in mysterious and absurd places. Everything offers us both physical and energetic nourishment when we are open to receive it. If we recognize only the form, says the wise woman tradition, we open only to the nourishment from the form. When we recognize and nourish ourselves with the energy as well, we find health, wholeness, holiness. There is no pain in the heart, but the breaking of barriers to love. As we follow the wise woman way, surrender our barriers to self-love and allow ourselves to feed on the mother love of the earth, we notice the various qualities of nourishment available to us. Sitting in a circle is nourishment. Practiced consistently, this creates a different state of health than always sitting in rows. Daydreaming is nourishment. And engaged in regularly, but not exclusively, this creates a different state of health than chronological thought does. Some forms and energy of nourishment are easy for us to consume, others are difficult. Some warm us, others cool us off when the pressure rises. Some kinds of nourishment allow us to exist in certain environments. Other kinds prevent us from experiencing our environment at all. When we give up our rules and recognize our unique place in the hologram of all life with self-love and self-respect, the wise woman way, we find it easier and easier to choose the optimum nourishment for ourselves in any situation. Shoulders to cry on, chickweed in the pavement cracks, a shooting star that takes away the breath. Every food offers its special nourishment. Eating wild food is consuming optimum nourishment. Do it frequently, in addition to your regular diet, and your taste begins to change. The junk food you couldn't resist before now irritates your tongue, smells offensive, and generally annoy you. The body, as well as the rest of ourselves, prefers the best nourishment it is offered. Hard to believe that most premenstrual women would really rather eat organic kale or cooked nettles than chocolate, but I've seen it many, many times. Optimum nourishment is craved and sought after. The wise woman tradition evokes health, wholeness, holiness by recognizing the opening, the hole for the desired nourishment to enter. Trauma, grief, pain, disease, and injury create holes. So do safe space, consensual agreement, and respect among beings. Once there is openness, the wise woman knows that when one being, person, plant, animal, rock, is more compassionate, more self-loving, and more aware of personal and planetary wholeness than another, then fuller integration in the other will be supported and nourished, no matter what the technique of interaction. This openness can occur between plants and people, and animals and people, and stones and people, and so on, as well as among people, and is an important key in understanding optimum nourishment. A wild plant nourishes the fullness of your being from the fullness of its being. A cultivated plant nourishes less fully, evokes less integration, wholeness, strength, and energy according to the conditions of its life. The wise woman tradition is nourishment, optimum nourishment from the heart, conscious nourishment of planetary wholeness in an ever-changing, ever-spinning, mysterious spiral. Optimum nourishment, the wise woman way, is simple no matter where on this planet you are. Simple means easy. Simple means common. Simple means single. The wise woman tradition is easy and singular and very common. And herbally, the wise woman tradition urges simples. In a simple, one herb alone is used. An infusion of oat straw, a tincture of dandelion, or a poultice of chickweed is a simple. Simples are usually as effective as compound remedies, far less expensive, and their quality is more easily judged. Using simples has the added advantage of self-teaching the effects of single herbs on your body. A wise woman midwife, for instance, finds birthing tinctures containing many herbs less reliable than a simple tincture of blue cohosh alone, or even blue cohosh, ginger, and black cohosh given simultaneously but from individual tinctures. The green gifts of Mother Earth are individual, singular, unique. They each carry a specific wholeness in the form and energy that most suits the particular plant, but they contain as well a multitude of lesser abilities. By using simples, we give ourselves a chance to encounter the subtleties in each plant. Using simples, we experience the uniqueness of each herb. Using simples, we are stretched to become allies, deep friends with each herb. They become our friends in the same way other beings do, with attention, with love, with care and concern, with time spent together alone. We come to know, cherish, honor all aspects of each green ally by being closely and simply together without distraction. The wise woman may have only a very small group of allies, sometimes only one plant ally. This is part of her invisibility. Simple is invisible. She learns through the use of simples the ways of her green allies, just as she learns her own ways, her strengths and vulnerabilities, her harshness and softness, her predictabilities and eccentricities. She becomes so intimate, so allied with those herbs that a handful of them, 13 or so, suffice for helping her integrate health, wholeness, holiness with the problem at hand, no matter what the problem is, her life long. How long does it take to make a friend? Start with a year. Choose the herb you want to be friends with. Not an exotic herb, but a local plant, a common plant, a simple weed. Visit, sing with, draw, gather, eat, experience your herb as often as you can. Every day is not too much. Not just in the day, at night too. Not just in the sun, in the rain too. Not just in the spring and summer, in autumn, winter too. Keep notes. Write down what you see, smell, feel, hear, experience with this ally to be. Invite your herb into your dreams. Introduce your other friends in your family. Invite your green friend to your parties and celebrations. Read about your herb. Ask other people about their experiences with this plant ally. Sleep together. Become available to the emotive force, the physical power, and the holiness of this green ally. Notice what nourishment is available to this plant and what nourishment it chooses. What are the needs of your ally? Can you hear, sense, feel, know within yourself what is needed? You are becoming friends. Ask your new green friend to help you. Rest in her strengths. Make use of her abilities. Call upon your friend. Ask for exactly what you need. Now you're becoming allies. In the Wise Woman way, we are all herbalists, for we all eat the plants of the earth. The Wise Woman herbalist allies herself with plants that are local and common. Open your door and there is your ally, waiting to be seen, heard, and cherished. Yes, even if you live in the city. Health, wholeness, holiness, in the Wise Woman way, is simple.